And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the heart of the Inland Empire, right here in sunny Southern California, it's Robert Cardoza Live, where we talk about politics, money, and you. This is the intersection of business and politics. And now here's your host, Robert Cardoza.
And welcome aboard. I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And like my good friend Sean LaFave says, who will be with us in a little bit, you know what? I keep standing in the middle of this intersection, and I have not been hit or injured in any way yet thus far. But you know what? We've got a terrific show for you today. We always try to give you an extra special show. I want you to know, first of all, though, at 3:01 p.m. Pacific time, it is currently 91 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, it's on its way down to 63 degrees, and when it gets there, it'll be a lot more palatable and a lot nicer. We'll be giving you some temperatures around the world where our broadcast goes through our syndication throughout the show. Right now, though, I want you to know that on today's show, we're going to discuss what's in the news, new legislation the IRS loses, and we'll continue our news segment, the tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey, and the rest of the story. On today's special segment, as I mentioned before, our own Sean LaFave and I will be talking about GMOs, as genetically modified organisms, on the Geared for Wellness corner. Sean will be with us for about about an hour. And then we've got a lot of great things for you. But right now, what I want to talk to you about is the news. And I've encapsulated it so we can talk about the top 10 things that are in the news. And then we'll do a little bit more in depth. First off, here are the 10 things that you need to know for Thursday. Your daily look at late breaking news, upcoming events, and the stories will be talked about all day today and probably tomorrow too. And first up, a drumbeat of criticism may be catching up to Trump. Rather than continuing to float above the condemnation, the billionaire businessman is losing ground in preference polls and alienating prominent Republicans by the day. And enemy is in retreat on all fronts. A U.S. commander says the military campaigns against the Islamic State group in Iraq and Syria have taken 45,000 enemy combatants off the battlefield. And who survived the scare in Rio? Well, the United States men's basketball team rallies from a halftime deficit to turn back Australia 98-88. Congratulations, boys. And the grim sleeper sent to death row. The Los Angeles serial killer is sentenced for the murders of 9 women and a teenage girl, but authorities believe he may have had as many as 25 victims. And where wildfires are raging unabated, well, you know what? 14 major wildfires are burning out of control in mainland Portugal, killing at least 4 people and burning down dozens of houses. And the former aide points the finger at Chris Christie. Yep. The aide texted that the New Jersey governor flat out lied when he said senior staffers weren't involved in the George Washington Bridge lane closing scandal, according to a court filing. Well, Brazil's first female leader is mired in political drama. The Senate votes overwhelmingly to put suspended President Dilma Rousseff on trial, moving her a step closer to being permanently removed. Well, get set for an outburst of shooting stars. The annual Perseid meteor shower is expected to peak with double the normal number of meteors, up to 200 per hour. And which celebrity couple is calling it quits? Unfortunately, Christy Brinkley and John Mellencamp are splitting up after a year of dating. And versatile ESPN sportscaster dies at age 61, and that's young, folks, at least from my perspective. John Saunders joined the network in 1986 and hosted ESPN sports reporters for the last 15 years. Well, let's get into a little more in-depth news today. Let's talk about Clinton portrays Trump economic plans as handouts for the rich. Hillary Clinton sought to undercut Donald Trump's claim to working-class voters today, portraying her Republican rival as untrustworthy on economic issues and pushing policies that would only benefit the super wealthy, himself included. The Democratic presidential nominee, who frequently boasts about her numerous policy plans, didn't offer any new ideas to improve the country's economy In her afternoon address, instead, she contrasted a more optimistic view of the country's economy with what she dubbed as outlandish Trumpian ideas that have been rejected by both parties. Based on what we know from the Trump campaign, he wants America to work for him and his friends at the expense of everyone else, she said, at the manufacturing company. Well, you know what? These guys are going to keep going at each other's throats, on and on and on. I don't see any other way around it. The truth is both sides are telling a little bit of truth and a whole lot of lies. Here, you know what? Trump entertains the notion that he could lose to Clinton. I guess so. Every time he opens his mouth. Straying from his trademark bravado, Donald Trump acknowledged today that his presidential campaign is facing challenges and could ultimately fall short. A rare expression of humility by the Republican presidential nominee, Trump's most explicit concession came as he pleaded for support at a gathering of evangelical ministers where Trump observed he was having a tremendous problem in Utah. It came the same day that the billionaire celebrity acknowledged that his lack of political correctness could cost him the election if Americans reject his blunt approach. We're having a problem, Trump told the ministers, adding that the next president could get to nominate up to 5 high court justices. It could cost us the Supreme Court. Well, after trouncing 16 challengers in the Republican primary, Trump is encountering worrying signs as his campaign moves into the general election. Democrat Hillary Clinton's lead over Trump in national polls has widened in recent days, while a number of fellow Republicans have declared they will not support their own party's presidential nominee. Well, I guess not. If every time he opens his mouth, he sticks his foot in it, you got to just kind of say, what the heck is going on? Let's talk about an Associated Press fact check. Trump wrongly calls Obama the founder of the Islamic State. Donald Trump says President Barack Obama is the founder of the Islamic State group. He's not, of course, According to the GOP presidential nominee, Obama's decision to pull U.S. forces from Iraq in 2011 destabilized the Middle East and created a situation in which Islamic State militants could thrive. That's debatable, at least. But to state that Barack Hussein Obama, as Trump put it to highlight the president's middle name, given to him by his Kenyan-born father, actively worked to create the terrorist group is just simply not accurate. In fact, the United States is leading a coalition of some 36 Western and Arab countries on a mission to destroy the Islamic State. Republicans argue his response has been tepid and incremental. Trump made his allegation at a rally in Florida and repeated it today. A look at his statements just makes you want to cringe. He is the founder of ISIS, he said Wednesday night. You know what? The things he says, there could be some basis to it, but no fact to it. And that's the simple thing. Obama did not create ISIS. He probably made a mistake, an error in judgment that allowed ISIS to grow. But he didn't create ISIS, and I think it's absolutely foolish and just horrible. It's tragic that Donald Trump would ever make such a claim. Well, don't go away. When we come back from this short intermission, we're going to talk about the terminally ill woman who holds a party before ending her life. Well, you're going to find this interesting, so don't go away. We'll be right back.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 12:42 p.m. Pacific time. I'm sorry, at 3:12 p.m. Pacific time. Still 91 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. And we're talking news. Let's go to it right now. Here's something you're going to find really interesting. We'll spend a little bit of extra time on it. A terminally ill woman holds a party before ending her life. Well, sounds innocent enough, but listen to this. This took place in San Diego, California. In early July, Betsy Davis emailed her closest friends and relatives to invite them to a 2-day party, telling them these circumstances are unlike any party that you have attended before, requiring emotional stamina, centeredness, and openness. And just one rule, no crying in front of her. The 41-year-old artist with ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, held a gathering to say goodbye before becoming one of the first Californians to take a lethal dose of drugs under the state's new doctor-assisted suicide law for the terminally ill. For me, and everyone who was invited, it was very challenging to consider, but there was no question that we would be there for her, said Niels Alpert, a cinematographer from New York City. The idea to go and spend a beautiful weekend that culminates in her suicide, that is not a normal thing, not a normal period, everyday occurrence. In the background of the lovely fun, smiles, and laughter that we had that weekend was the knowledge of what was coming. Davis worked out a detailed schedule for the gathering on the weekend of July the 23rd through the 24th, including the precise hour that she planned to slip into a coma, and shared her plans with her guests in the invitation. More than 30 people came to the party at home with a wraparound porch in the picturesque Southern California mountain town of Ojai, flying in from New York, Chicago, and across the California. One woman brought a cello, a man played a harmonica. There were cocktails, pizza from her favorite local joint, and a screening in her room of one of her favorite movies, The Dance of Reality, based on the life of a Chilean film director. As the weekend drew to a close, her friends kissed her goodbye, gathered for a photo, and left. And Davis was wheeled out to a canopy bed on a hillside where she took a combination of morphine, phenobarbital, and chloral hydrate prescribed by her doctor. Kelly Davis said she loved her sister's idea for gathering. Obviously, it was hard for me. It was still hard for me, said Davis, who wrote about it for the online news outlet Voice of San Diego. The worst was needing to leave the room every now and then because I would get choked up. But people got it. They understood how much she was suffering and that she was fine with her decision. They respected that. They knew she wanted it to be a joyous occasion. Davis took her life a little over a month after California law giving the option to the terminally ill went into effect. 4 other states allowed doctor-assisted suicide, with Oregon first in 1997. Opponents of the law warn it could become a way out for people who are uninsured or are fearful of high medical bills. Marilyn Golden of the Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund said her heart goes out to anyone dealing with a terminal illness, but there are still millions of people in California threatened by the danger of this law. Davis spent months planning her exit, feeling empowered after spending the last 3 years losing control of her body bit by bit. The painter and performance artist could no longer stand, brush her teeth, or scratch an itch. Her caretakers had to translate her slurred speech for others. Dear Rebirth participants, you're all very brave for sending me off on my journey, she wrote in her invitation. There are no rules. Wear what you want, speak your mind, dance, hop, chant, sing, pray, but do not cry in front of me. Oh, okay, one rule. During the party, old friends reconnected and Davis rolled in and out of the rooms in her electric wheelchair and onto the porch, talking with her guests. At one point, she invited friends to her room to try on the clothes that she had picked out for them. They modeled the outfits to laughter. Guests were also invited to take a Betsy souvenir, a painting, beauty product, or other memento. Her sister had placed sticky notes on the items explaining each one's significance. Wearing a Japanese kimono, wearing a Japanese kimono, she brought on a bucket list trip that she took after being diagnosed in 2013. She looked out at her last sunset and took the drugs at 6:45 p.m. with her caretaker, her doctor, her massage therapist, and her sister by her side. 4 hours later, she died. Friends said it was the final performance for the artist who once drew pictures on a stage with whipped cream. What Betsy did gave her the most beautiful death that any person could ever wish for, Alpert said. By taking charge, she turned her departure into a work of art. You know, that I just find that so beautiful. I almost don't want to say anything else before our next break, and I probably shouldn't. But we've got a little bit of time here, so I really have to do it. So here's the deal. Here's the latest. Britain wins Rio's first men track cycling gold. The latest on the Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. Britain won the first gold medal of the track cycling program in Rio Olympics on today, rallying past New Zealand in the final of the men's team sprint by the slimmest of margins. The squad of Philip Sanders, Jason Kinney, and Callum Skinner trailed their rivals when their second and third riders dropped away. But Skinner was able to make up the difference. They finished in a time of 42.44 seconds, and lowering the Olympic record that the Kiwis set in a previous round. You know what? How great is that? Now, do not go away, because when we come back, we're going to do the IRS loses. We've got a lot of stuff waiting for you, a lot of great stuff, and then coming up right after that, we'll have our own Sean LaFave here with the Geared for Wellness Corner. He'll be talking about GMOs.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make the interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry and a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:23 p.m. Pacific time. Still 91 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. And if you're listening to us on our syndicated global network and you're in New York City, well, it's 88 degrees and mostly cloudy. And if you're in Chicago, Illinois, it is 89 degrees and it's still mostly cloudy. But right now, let's talk about something that's going to set the hair up on the back of your neck and send chills up and down your spine, and that is the IRS loses. And our first case today is it's a split decision with the IRS. A housing subsidy costs another dependency exemption, but not the earned income credit. So let me give you this. And this is Emmanuel Cantrell, a divorced mother, claimed dependency exemptions, a dependent care credit, child care credits, and the earned income care credit for her 2 sons who lived with her as well as head of household filing status. Now, the IRS challenged all of those things, went to court, and this is what the judge said about this. Cantrell received a Section 8 housing subsidy that, combined with child support from her ex-husband, accounted for more than half of the support of her sons. So she could not claim dependency exemptions as a dependent care credit, nor child tax credit for them, but the earned income credit and the head of household status are not conditioned on the support test. So she could claim those 2. So she did get those. And you know what? Truth is those are meaningful credits as well. And my guess is she wasn't trying to get away with anything. She just had probably gotten some bad advice. That's why you always want to use a licensed professional. Here's another case, though, and this is one you're going to love. The IRS lost it. They didn't prove the evidence was in a foreign country, so time just ran out. Here's the case. An individual who was criminally charged with committing securities fraud and tax evasion moved to have 19 charges against him dropped because the statute of limitations had actually run out. Now, the government's reply to this? The limitation period had been stopped because the government was seeking to obtain evidence located in a foreign country. Well, they went to court for some satisfaction. This is what the judge said. The limitations period is stopped while the government seeks such evidence, if it can show the evidence probably is located abroad. But here, the government presented no evidence to support this claim, and mere assertion is not enough. So the deadline had run, and the charges absolutely are dismissed, which is exactly the way it should be. Well, you've heard me talk many, many times about being a fly on the wall when the IRS is doing stuff. That's where we're at right now with this segment we call Inside the IRS. It's just a little bit like the Twilight Zone. Okay, so these are not actual tax court cases, but these are things that the IRS does that you should be aware of, and sometimes you can actually use them to your benefit. You know, when you're dealing with the IRS, it's not enough to just be guessing what's going on. You need to know what they're doing, the positions they're taking, and all those kind of things. Not just the tax court cases. Obviously, if you're going to tax court, you want to have a tax court precedent, but that's kind of what's going on here. In this first instance, the IRS. Did you know this? They can actually access your credit report and find out about financial transactions that you might not otherwise want to share with it. No kidding, right? Well, suppose, for example, that your credit report reflects that you borrowed money to purchase an expensive car or a boat, and suppose the IRS finds this out. Well, its next step could easily be to contact your bank and obtain a copy of your credit application. If it does that, you have a problem. If the credit application reflects assets or sources of income that you're trying to hide from the IRS, guess what? It just found them. And what if you overstated your assets on the credit application? Well, while this is not a tax crime, it is a crime under federal law. Both cases, you could spend weekends away from home in one of those federal resorts. Yeah. So you want to be really, really careful about this kind of stuff. Well, how about this? You ever wonder what happens to people who are sentenced to jail for a tax crime? Well, you know, in most cases, they are what they call designated. That's the Bureau of Prisons lingo, meaning where an individual is going to be sent. Now, usually, they're designated to a camp. Now, a camp is a federal prison facility, but there are no gun towers, barbed wire, or jail cells, and the other inmates in the camp are likely to be white-collar criminals and low-level drug dealers. Now, it's a dormitory-style setting with a relatively small risk of physical assault. Of course, the experience is boring and time drags by very slowly, and keep this in mind. You're not free. That's what one of these wonderful facilities is where Martha Stewart went for her inside trading thing that was going on. And so, you know, it's really up to the judge where you wind up going. It can be good time and it can be bad time. In any time that you're spending time away from home and you're not free to do what you want, I don't think that that's good time. Now, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be with our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. Sean's going to be talking about GMOs today. GMO sounds like something out of this world. Well, you know, it kind of is something out of this world. It's a genetically modified organism, and Sean's going to tell us all about that. Or say these brief messages do not go away. We'll be with Sean as soon as we come back.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson & Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson & Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson & Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson & Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from his personal meditation lounge in Orange County, California, a professional dedicated to conquering many chronic conditions from autism to weight loss and everything in between. The nationally recognized wellness coach, consultant, and lecturer, Sean Lefebvre, in his Geared for Wellness Corner.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:33 p.m. Pacific time, currently 91 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. And if you're in Torrance, California, it's 79 degrees and it's clear. And if you're in Wichita, Kansas, it's 5:33 p.m. and it's 97 degrees, partly cloudy, and it is humid as hell. Hey, Sean, how you doing out there?
You know, I just ran into a guy who was traveling in a motorhome, and he didn't have an air conditioner. I said, "You don't have an air conditioner here?" He said, "No." I goes, "I just drove in from the face of the sun. I'm trying to acclimate myself." So it's so hot here.
Well, you know what? I can just hear it in your voice, for gosh sakes. So, but you know, the nice part about that is that you don't have to turn on your stove or your oven or anything. You just step outside and fry everything on the sidewalk.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm gonna be grilling. I just put a cast iron frying pan out there and give it about 10 minutes, and I can just drop the food straight into it.
Yeah, you know what? This is barbecue weather. You certainly want to be outside, not creating any additional heat inside, right?
Right, that's for sure. Nice thing is the rest of this week is supposed to be in the 80s, so it's I think it is the humidity though that gets me. I know we talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just that you step outside and for me, I'm just one of these guys that sweats a lot. You know, it doesn't matter. Right? It's something that's mildly spicy and boom, I'm breaking out.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, and you probably ought to just to take a moment to make people understand it. You know, the truth is, you can have 97 degrees in California, and it's actually, you know, quite comfortable. It's warm, but it's dry. It's quite comfortable. But 97 degrees in a humid atmosphere could kill you.
Oh. Yeah, it is. It's draining. And that's the thing for me. Anytime I go somewhere where it's hot and humid, if I'm outside too long, it just physically, it's like someone just pulled a plug and the energy just drains from me.
So does the humidity, what it does, I believe is it exacerbates the perspiration that you have, and it denudes your body of all of those electrolytes and all of that, the water, and you dehydrate, and that's what's really so hard on your body and your heart, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So you sound like you've been outside.
I was. I just can't. It's so funny. I think I've talked about this before. I get this car, and in California, it's not a big deal, but my car is black. Mm-hmm. And here, man, I get in that car, and it does. If I got to drive somewhere that's less than 15 minutes away, my car doesn't even cool down by the time I get there.
Oh yeah.
I literally will have times that I'll just stop and I'll park in the shade and I'll sit there with the air conditioner on high for like 5 minutes because I just got to cool my car down. Yeah, the sun and the black car and the heat and the humidity, and oh man, it's just, I was outside a little bit ago, but I'm in the air conditioned room now, and I'm feeling
you need to hire a valet that you can tell, hey, get my car started and get the air conditioner cranked up so that when I get out there, it's cool.
That would be an excellent idea on my work.
So listen, we're going to talk about GMOs today. Oh, well, hey, listen, before we do that though, because we got an hour, so we got plenty of time.
Yeah. Because it just flies right by, and we always get to what we want to talk
Oh yeah. Did you get a chance to read that email that I sent you? I sent it to you late in the day, but it was about this the young lady in Ojai.
Yeah, I did, and I thought it was a fantastic article.
Yeah, I actually did the entire story here today on the news, and I was really touched by it, and I thought that, you know what, it's about time that we had respect for people that have a death warrant that they can't get out of.
Yeah, and I'm sure there was probably a time in my life that I would have said, no, you can't, you gotta push through and persevere and, being all idealistic and everything. But I guess as you know how it is, you get a little bit older and you see all these things happening to your friends. For me, I've been really fortunate. I've not had anything that's, is debilitating like that. But, and for those, you said you already talked about the story here on the show, just because I missed the first part of your show today.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I actually had an uncle who died of ALS, and I got to tell you, and I spent a lot of time with him. I just was really crazy about this guy, and it is the most horrible, debilitating death that you can imagine. And so when I was reading this story, and actually and I read it twice because I read it myself, then I sent it to you, and then I decided, you know what, I'm going to feature it on my news section of the show. And it was really a beautiful, beautiful story that she was totally in control of. And it was just, when you got done with that, you just you felt good. I mean, you felt sad, but you felt good.
Yeah. You obviously feel sad for her, that she went through that. And for those who didn't hear, I don't know if anyone missed the first, like I did in the first part of your show, it's about a woman with ALS who threw a huge party for herself with like 30-something of her friends, and basically said, well, I'm going to tell you all goodbye. Only rule is you can't cry in front of me. Yeah. And then at the end of the party, she basically went off and had herself wheeled off in a wheelchair and took the dose of 3 different prescription medications to end her life, which is now legal in California to do so. And it really was a touching story, and probably, had you shown that to me 10 years ago, I probably would have said, oh, that's, I don't know that I would have agreed with it. So
you know what? And you and I are on the same road here. You know what? I think 10 years ago, I'd have had a different position on that too. Because, we're all optimists at heart, and we all want to believe that, hey, there's always hope. Who knows when they're going to discover some miracle for this kind of stuff. So there's always hope. But the truth is that in some cases there is no hope, or if there is hope, it's going to be beyond your time, and the suffering outweighs the hope.
Yeah, and when you have a condition like ALS or multiple sclerosis or any of these other, neurological degenerative diseases, there comes a point that even if they are going to find a cure for it, it's too late. They're not going to be able to help you. Yeah. Once the nerve damage is done to a point where, your body's shutting down, it would take literally a miracle. And I'm not talking like some new drug. I'm talking like an actual God coming down and touching you with his hand kind of miracle.
Yeah.
But to fix those things. And so they're even with ones that people are hopeful, I think there comes a point where you have to go, you know what, no matter what happens in medicine, I'm at a point where there's no fixing this. We've reached the tipping point, and things are only going to go downhill from here.
Do you think that there's a chance that the rest of the nation or even the rest of the world might at one time acclimate and say this is the humane thing to allow?
I think they will. I think it'll be more. There will always be those, especially from the spiritual, religious sectors. That go. Suicide is really not an option.
Yeah.
But I think that most of the world. This is of course pure speculation. Mm-hmm. But I think that the world will eventually evolve to that point where we go. This is okay. And as a matter of fact, it will almost become something that is encouraged. I think we'll even get to that point, where you go, okay, we've got this. We talked about population control last time Tuesday. I don't see why this wouldn't be used as a form where somebody you get to the point. There have been movies and stuff about that where the population when they get to a certain age, they end their life, because they don't become a burden.
Yeah, they no longer can function, and they're reliant upon others for everything, and they feel. And you know what? And psychologically, it just destroys them. They have no what's the word I want to use? There's no dignity in when you get to a certain age, at old age, there's no dignity in it.
Yeah. I've got just a very dear friend of mine that I've actually known since high school, and she's a wonderful person. She's just absolutely beautiful, and she's a hard driving, hard working, generous person who just loves everybody, and just really one of those fun people to be around. And she was married to a man who just passed away, just like I don't know, maybe 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. But he had a neurological degenerative disorder as well. It wasn't ALS, or wasn't even MS, but it was kind of a more rare one. But she unfortunately became the caretaker for him, and it did exactly everything that you said. It took away his self-respect, his dignity. He was miserable. Her and I have talked a lot over the last 10 years, and he was even 10 years ago, he was in bad shape.
Yeah.
Where he had gotten to the point they had a ranch with horses, not a huge ranch, but a small little ranch of their own. They had some horses and stuff, and there was always work to be done. And she also had a full-time business of her own. I mean, like she does investment type stuff. So, she's a very smart person with a very good business, and she works these huge accounts and then comes home, and it got to the point where she was literally working all of the outside stuff, feeding the animals and cleaning and mending fences and whatever. She was doing all that on her own, and her life really became work and take care of him and take care of the property that they lived on. And I know that it got to a point where he was just distraught. He and it even evolved to the point that she kind of laid down an ultimatum to him. She said, I'm young. I have all this life ahead of me, and I'm a woman with needs, and I want an open marriage, kind of thing. And because he had not been able to really provide that, he even stopped because he was so, I guess, depressed of his condition that not only was he physically able to have intimacy with her, but he had withdrawn emotionally that intimacy as well. And so she goes, I'm starving for everything. It's not just, she goes, if I could at least get the emotional intimacy, I would at least be able to go a little bit longer, but I'm not even getting that. And she ended up eventually, going into these various short-term relationships to fill that void even for just a little while, and she always felt empty afterwards. And of course, now that he's passed away, she lives with this, this guilt. She's very guilt-ridden.
Well, and that's the psychological problem with this. That I'm not so sure that the people that have to witness this kind of deterioration and have to bear the sacrifice of not having the fulfillments that they normally would have had with a spouse or a loved one, I'm not so sure that they're not the ones that suffer the most, because the one that is enduring this eventually, for the lack of a better term, expire, right? But you're left with this empty, hollow feeling and the psychological damage that has been done, this injury that's been done, that stays with you for what could be forever if you don't find a replacement down the road or some other way of fulfilling that psychological need, that physical need, that emotional need. I'm not so sure that it's not the people that are left behind that suffer the most.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you, because they do. It doesn't just take away the life of the person who's suffering if that person is married. You know, and I watched it happen with my own grandmother. You know, my aunt, my mom's sister, who's younger than her, and we talked about this before. You know, back in the 80s, she was in a horrible car accident and went into a coma, and she's still alive today. But she has the mentality of like a 3-year-old. You know, she's a 200-pound woman who will throw temper tantrums and throw stuff and hit people and do all these things if she doesn't get her way. And it really just took the life of my grandmother until she passed. And after that, you know, they tried to have caregivers in her home, and that just didn't work. So she finally ended up in a care facility long term. But it does have, you know, a toll. I mean, even the thing with my dad, you know, and the last couple of years that my mom had to take care of him. And so you're right. I think that people with the neurological degenerative disorders, that takes that and it stretches it out over sometimes, you know, 2 decades, you know, and at least 10 years minimum where you're being a full-time caretaker. And 10 years of your life is a long time, especially if you're in the prime of your life, you know, to walk away. And like you said, you know, now you're after the fact, you've got to grieve, you know, you're dealing with guilt, you know, you're picking up the pieces and you're going, okay, you know, where do I go now? You know, it's different to start your life over when you're, you know, almost 50 years old than it is when you're in your 20s.
Oh, yeah.
And so I do firmly believe that you're spot on with that those who are left behind are the ones that really do suffer the most, because I don't imagine you ever overcome something like that.
No, I don't. You know what? You're right. I don't think you ever overcome it. I think that I was going to say that stigma, but there's not really a stigma. That injury stays with you the rest of your life, because I think when you lose someone like that, even though you psychologically can become a bit calloused, at least externally, with that, internally, you still have those memories and you still have that hurt. Yeah. It becomes a little numb after a while, but I don't think it ever goes away.
No, and I don't think it does. And I think that you almost mourn twice. You mourn the loss of the person who's still alive right there in front of you, because, you know, like I said, with the example of my friend and her husband, you know, he was not able to give her anything at this point. He was just a shell of a person who, you know, had to take medications every night to be able to sleep, and medications to be out of pain, and on and on and on. And so she was grieving over that loss while he was still around, and then when he died, she had to go through a whole another grieving, or she's still going through a whole other grieving process. And so it's so when you know, that brings us back to the story that you sent me, is, you know, do I think that that a person, when they reach a certain point, that they make a decision to terminate their own lives? I don't have a problem with that anymore. There was a time when I did, but I don't. I like the book.
You know what? There's so many people that relate that to giving up, and I don't believe it's giving up. I believe it's making a rational decision not to suffer any longer.
Yeah, exactly. And not only to not suffer, but also to not become, you know, for most people, this is going to become a financial drain. You're going to die, and your family is going to be left with, at best, nothing, but most likely a lot of bills and debt.
Yeah, that burden ship is not just on you physically; it's on the other people around you as well.
Right. Yeah. If you're married and you accrue, you know, $100,000 in medical debts, when you die, your spouse can take care of that for you. Yeah. You know, old joy there. So I think that that's another factor involved in that. And I like the way, you know, California, you know, one of the things in the article that they talked about was, they said, you know, this could be a way for some people to try to find the easy way out if they don't have insurance, or if they're just, you know, whatever. And the fact is, it's really would be extremely tough to do that, because you have to go to a physician who says, yeah, this makes sense, and I'm going to go ahead and give you the okay. Once you do that, you have to go find a second physician who also agrees with the first one. So I don't know if the article talked about that or not, but I know that that's the way it works.
No, the article didn't, but you're right.
Yeah, so you have to have two separate physicians that say, yes, this makes sense, you're terminal, there's no fixing this, there's no repairing, there's no coming back from this, and it is at a point now where it is unbearable and ending your life is a logical option.
And it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Yeah. So listen, let's go off on another tangent. I just wanted to address that a little bit and get your thoughts on it. You and I could actually be brothers. You and I think a lot alike. Really do.
I think that's why I put up with you for so long.
It's in spite of me. You put up with me in spite of my magnificent personality, right?
Exactly.
Hey, listen. So let's define what a GMO is, because we've got 7 minutes before we have to take a break. So let's define what a GMO is and get us all set up for the next segment.
7 whole minutes. Normally, when you say we got a break coming up, it's like 30 seconds.
Well, I'm trying to get on a little more pleasant subject, even though not a great one, but a little more pleasant subject.
So a GMO, a genetically modified organism. Typically, they are genetically modifying animals now, but what we're talking about here is specifically plants and more specifically plants that are being used for food. And, so they modify them. The ones that are the biggest modifications we see are the ones that come from, the company Monsanto and other companies like that, where the reason for modifying this crop, say corn, for instance, which is there's a study that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. The reason why they modify it is so that they can spray it with the pesticide. The one specific one, the most heavily used, is glyphosate, and so they can spray it, and the pesticide won't hurt the crop. It'll kill weeds, it'll kill bugs, it'll kill all kinds of stuff, but it won't actually hurt the crop itself. Stop there for just a second. So it won't hurt the crop, but does the crop absorb
that pesticide, and do we wind up getting it in a grocery store?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing that those of us who are opposed to the GMOs, that's our biggest argument is, it's not like you spray it off, it rains and it washes away and everything's hunky-dory. This is stuff that gets, that the plant absorbs. It's like, it's a liquid that gets sprayed on. And so just like rain, the plants are made to absorb fluids. So they're going to absorb this chemical in, and it's just going to be a residue on the outside of it as well. And when it gets cut down and shipped out, it's even if it's ground up and processed, you're still going to get that glyphosate in there, and we're going to end up consuming that. Matter of fact, there was a study done in California. They studied a wide range of wines, everything from the really cheap ones all the way up to the really expensive ones, some that were organic and non-organic and the whole bit, and every single wine that they tested had trace amounts of glyphosate. Obviously, the ones that were organic had just a little bit, but it was because of overspray. And so that every single wine that they tested from California is contaminated with glyphosate. So even crops that are grown without glyphosate are going to contain glyphosate because we use it so heavily.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. That chemical, we have to make an assumption, and let's just use wine as an example. We have to make an assumption that they're spraying that chemical there, but they are also irrigating the vineyards, and there's water running through, and that water soaks on down to the root system, and it actually gets into the water table. Does it not take those chemicals with it into the water table, and that's how it would spread to these other organic products?
I would imagine that's one way it's going to spread for sure. It's definitely going to do that. And I think the other way is just the wind carries it, and, maybe it evaporates up and it comes back down as rain. I mean, there's a lot of ways it can get, it can get redistributed. But, the water table is for sure one way that you would expect that to happen. Because we know that happens with all kinds of, chemicals, even places that are, like heavy ranching areas. People who have wells have to be careful that during certain seasons, during certain times of the year, water can run off from where all the cows are, and actually literally the manure from can get washed down into the. And so we know that's a distinct possibility. And so that's one way, but there are numerous ways that it gets redistributed. But even just simply being sprayed and then taken up in the wind and taken to the the neighbor's vineyard next door that doesn't use glyphosate.
So let me ask you this. Just so that it clarifies in my own mind. What the promoters of organic foods and the foodstuffs and things like that is they're opposed to the insecticide part of the GMO. Are they also opposed to the fact that some of these GMOs are created to increase crop size and yield and stuff like that? Or is it simply any kind of GMO you'd be opposed to?
Yeah, for the most part, personally, I'm opposed to pretty much any kind of GMO, and most people who are opposed to GMOs are going to be opposed to all of them. You know, and it's not that we're opposed to, you know, bigger crops or faster growing. And, you know, if you can feed more people and there's no ramifications to that, that's great. But the problem is it changes literally the DNA structure of the plant. And we as a people, you know, have grown accustomed to eating a certain type of food, and once you change the genetic structure of that food, it no longer becomes the food, or no longer grows into the food that we're used to eating. It's slightly different, you know, and so it might be something that our body can't digest properly. Like, gotcha. You know, a perfect example is, I love corn. I don't eat corn very much, but I love corn on the cob. Mm-hmm. That's my one thing. Like when I'm grilling out, oh my God, corn on the cob, just slather with butter and a little bit of salt, I'm in heaven, right? Mm-hmm. But my body, because I'm of European descent, especially Northern European, I don't digest corn. And so I literally I poop out corn the next day. I have little chunks of corn in my poop. Mm-hmm. You know, if I was, you know, a Native American, or if I was Central American or South American by descent, I would have no problem digesting the corn, because my body would produce the enzymes needed to digest corn. And so, you know, certain cultures do well with certain foods. We know people, you know, from Ireland do well with potatoes, you know, and you know, people in India have their, you know, the foods they grew up with and so on. And so when you take someone out of their own genetic food source, it's going to create some digestive issues going on there. It might not be enough to kill you, of course, mm-hmm. but it could be enough to get you where you're just not quite 100%, because you're not digesting, you're not breaking these particles down. You know, you might be getting some food allergies. And another thing too, you know, we talk about you know, people are gluten sensitive and mm-hmm. all these wheat and gluten allergies. It not necessarily is that a gluten allergy for all people, but we know with glyphosate specifically that what it does is we have in our intestines, we have these things called tight junctions. Okay, hang on
a second. We're going to come back to that, because we're talking about the tight junctions in the intestine, which means you got a tight ass eventually. And in any event, we're going to be right back with our own Sean LaFave. Just keep that analogy in mind. We'll be right back with Sean LaFave right after these brief messages. Doggone, don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Leinberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the Street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:01 p.m. Pacific time. It's still 91 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Paris, France, well, you know what? It is 61 degrees and clear. If you're in Rome, Italy, it is 68 and clear. And having said that, I need to apologize for a moment of profane bliss that I came out with. You know, that's just not normal to me. I don't know what happened or what the heck came out of there, but I sincerely apologize to my listeners, especially those that may have been offended by that slip. Hey, Sean, we're back on the air. Let's talk about GMOs.
I'm just glad I'm not the one that's in trouble this time.
Well, you know what? It usually is you. I guess it's my turn.
It usually is.
I cannot believe I did that.
I can't believe it either, but oh well. We're all human.
Yeah, thanks for the support.
So tight junctions, that's where we were. So you have in your intestinal wall, you know, there's all kinds of things going on in there, but you have what are called tight junctions, and they're really there to stop things from getting through, things that shouldn't get through your intestinal wall, into your bloodstream. And, but sometimes they can open up. That's why they're a junction. They're still a junction. They're tight. I mean, they can still kind of open up. They can let things through when they need to. But the problem is glyphosate, we know, actually opens up those tight junctions when, for whatever reason, it has something about it. It gets in, it causes either a malfunction or maybe it looks like something that the tight junction wants to let through. And so what you're doing is you're letting food particles that haven't even been digested properly yet get through. And what that's doing is your body's producing an antibody to this protein that it's got. Because, you know, they always, you know, you've heard people say, well, you are what you eat. And it actually goes a little bit further before and after that. You actually are what you ate. So if you ate something, whatever it is, you're that. But what you also are is you're what your bacteria in your gut eat, because all of your food has to be processed. You know, our digestive system is like a big juicing machine. You know, it kind of emulsions everything and it juices it out, and the solid waste products that you see come out in your juicer, you know, that you don't drink, that's your poop, and then the rest of it is stuff that gets digested by your bacteria. And so the bacteria now, they give off a product, and that product is actually what your body absorbs. And so if you have a food particle that gets through the term that a lot of people use is leaky gut or gut permeability, if you get these particles that go through your gut without being digested properly, your body doesn't recognize them, and especially if it's been genetically modified as something that our bodies, didn't evolve to the point where they understand what it is, our body will produce an antibody to it.
So how important is it then that you chew your food properly, so that when it does get past the stomach and starts to get broken down, is it important that you actually chew properly, or can you so I've seen people don't hardly chew their food at all. They just kind of take a bite and swallow.
Yeah, and I depending on what I'm eating, I tend to be that person too. The term, I love using the term because it always makes people giggle, but the term is mastication. Mm-hmm. And I say everybody should be a good, constant masticator. But, chewing your food actually is, because it does help the digestive system. Not only does it help, it's not so much that the smaller particles are important, which that is, but really, what it is we have again our microbiome, all that bacteria in our gut. We also have an oral microbiome, and so there's a lot of pre-digestive enzymes. We have our saliva, and that helps to pre-digest food. And so chewing it actually is the first stage of digestion, and so chewing is actually an important part of the digestion process. I know that I don't know where this number came from. I never researched it, but I know that the number that was been around forever is you're supposed to chew your food 32 times. And I've got friends that I know who, even if they make a shake, they make a smoothie, they chew, there's nothing really solid to chew on, but they go through the process of chewing even their smoothies because they understand that what it does is when your mouth, you have all these sensors in your mouth, and they kind of pick up on what's being chewed on, what's in your mouth, and what's getting ready to go into the stomach, and it helps the body more readily prepare for digesting and absorbing that type of food. And it also helps with satiation too. You can wolf down a bunch of food real fast, and all of a sudden now your stomach's full, but you haven't hit that mental part of the brain saying, okay, cool, we're full. But if you chew your food longer, you eat slower, it gives the body more of a chance to go, okay, I processed all this stuff. There's some sugars in here. There's some some CoQ10 and some vitamin B and some of this, some of that, and I've got some protein and some good fats, and I've got omega-3s and all this stuff. And the body goes, okay, cool, we're good now. We don't need to be hungry anymore. So chewing really is important. But I know that I'm guilty as anybody else from time to time of taking big chunks and just, especially if I'm in a hurry or whatever, which is not a good excuse, but yeah, chewing is important. That was a pretty long answer to, I think, what was a simple question. Actually,
well, first of all, I've never asked you a short question that you didn't have a long answer to. You notice I've never asked you how to build a watch, and because there's just too doggone many pieces to it.
That was actually a quick answer. You take all the stuff to a watch fielder and add into it. That's my answer. That was a quick, easy one.
Okay. So anyway, so we're back on GMOs, and it's not just important about this. What's the word I want to use? Genetically changed or modified organism that we're dealing with. It also has an effect on the people that wind up eating that modified organism, because the body isn't accustomed to dealing with that kind of an organism, right? It hasn't evolved to it.
Right. Yeah, if you take something that is used to, like if let's say, using corn as the example, if the corn, normally you would spray a pesticide on it and the corn would die because that's the way genetically the corn is designed. Well, that's the kind of corn we're designed to eat. All of a sudden you genetically modify it to where it can't die, or even genetically modified to where, certain pesticides, they've actually, not pesticides, but certain pests are repelled by. So now we've made it to where it's naturally resistant, and I use the word naturally in a very loose form, but it is naturally resistant to the pests. So they now have been able to genetically modify plants to where a bug that would normally eat that plant would be repulsed by it. Well, if that was at one time a good food source for a bug, and it was at one time a good food source for us, and you changed it to where now it's no longer a good food source for that bug, what makes you think it's still a good food source for us? Why was that? Why does that change not apply. And there have been no tests. They have never been able to, run any long-term tests. And I know that you and I talked, this was a couple of years ago when we had this discussion about Obama had just passed the, I think it's H.R. 933, I think is what it was, what they called the Monsanto Protection Act.
I can't remember this morning, and you expect me to remember an H.R. something or other from 2 years ago?
Well, I mean, I remember talking about it with you about 2 years ago. We talked about it, and afterwards, John came on after the show, and we continued on with his show talking about it there as well. But now that Protection Act basically states that if in the long run we find out that GMOs are in fact harmful, that they're making people sick, they're causing damage, they're even killing people, that companies like Monsanto cannot be held legally responsible for that. In fact, you can't even stop them from producing the GMOs according to the way it's written.
Sort of like the gun manufacturers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. But the gun manufacturers, you don't have to have a gun to live. That's the difference. You can, hopefully we don't ever sue gun manufacturers for what someone else does with the gun. But I do need food to eat. And when they take a tomato, so it's been as crazy as, they found a way to take the DNA from, and I can't remember what kind of fish it was, but it was a fish that lives in really cold water, so it's resistant to cold water. They took the DNA from that fish and they crossbred it into a tomato, and so now this tomato can withstand colder temperatures. So if you get an overnight, like you planted your tomatoes, and then all of a sudden there's like a freak kind of cold front moves in, and you get a frost overnight that would normally kill off a tomato crop. Well, now this tomato crop might be able to survive that. And so we're not just crossbreeding plants with plants; we're crossbreeding plants with DNA from animals as well. And so so you got to ask yourself, well, never in the history of man has there been a tomato that grew from a fish. And so there's nothing in our bodies that would expect something like that to go into our bodies. And so it really opens up the question is, long term, what is this going to do to us? Not only are we spraying this, I mean, the chemicals we know, they're known carcinogens. It's not like it's a big secret. There's 38 countries that have either partial or full bans on GMOs. In fact, it was about a year ago. Facebook does these little things now where they give you, your memory from, last year or 2 years or 5 years ago or whatever. And one that I had posted last year was, Scotland did a complete ban. They won't allow the growing of any GMOs in their country because they don't, one of the things that Scotland is known for is for their beautiful countryside. And I've been to Scotland, and it is absolutely one of the most beautiful places on earth. It's so green and it's so gorgeous, and the rolling hills, and it's stunning to be there. But they said, look, you know what, we are not going to allow the growth of any GMOs in our country at all, ever, period, because we don't want to destroy the landscape here. And they found they'd done a GMO experiment with some wheat, I don't know, this was years ago, and for some reason it didn't work out. I don't know what the problem was with it. I don't know if people couldn't eat it or didn't grow right or what. Well, a couple of years ago, they discovered this massive field in Oregon, out in the middle of nowhere in Oregon, that was overgrown with this GMO wheat. And, because there was some leftover seeds, must have blown around and planted itself and grew, and a little bit more and a little bit more, and pretty soon they had this huge field that was filled with GMO wheat that they didn't even know was there. Someone stumbled upon it somehow. But so we GMOs, it's not, and that's another thing too, is if I'm designing this to be resistant to natural predators, what's to stop it from overgrowing everything around it? If the bugs can't kill it off, but it can kill everything else around it, well, now you've got, like what happened in the South when they brought the Spanish moss over, and this stuff grew all over the trees, and then they couldn't get rid of it. And so you've got a plant now that is more pervasive than other plants. And so how do you stop that from growing? And so it does create a lot of long-term, not only scientific, but also, ethical questions that really haven't been answered in any type of solid format. So it's an interesting thing, but there was the thing that brought this up for me that made me kind of want to talk about this was kind of an exciting victory, I guess, for those in the anti-GMO world. There was a scientist in France, that's Guy Eric Sarialani, I think is his name, or something like that. Anyway, I'm sure I probably pronounced it with more of an Italian lilt. But he did a study with mice, and he fed them corn. It was GMO corn that was also saturated with the glyphosate pesticide, and he wanted to see what was happening. He was specifically looking for how it affected the kidneys and the liver, which is really what like in what I do, that's one of the things that I address almost in every single person I deal with. Is the first thing we address is the gut, and then the kidneys and the liver, and most people, their kidneys and liver are trashed because we live in such an onslaught of pesticides and herbicides and other chemicals that our filters, the kidneys and liver just filters are overtasked. And so he did this study on these mice, and of course the study did find that there was an effect on liver and kidney function in the mice, but what an unintended consequence of this that they found was the mice grew these just absolutely gruesome tumors. Huge tumors out of their sides and their bellies and necks and everything. And so he when he posted the findings of this article, he also posted some pictures of these tumors. And what that created was this huge backlash against him, of course, from the pro-GMO world. And he was almost, crucified for it. In fact, they actually were able through, there was someone who was an ex-employee at Monsanto that was on the board of directors for the editing department of where he first got published, and were able to get his paper retracted. And Monsanto attacked him viciously and said all these things about him. So he actually sued Monsanto for a defamation of character, and he won, which is a great victory. Not necessarily because maybe he was right or wrong. I don't know. Maybe his study really is truly a whole valid study. Maybe there's a lot more that needs to be done. But I thought the part that was neat about this was he was able to stand up to Monsanto and win, and very few people have ever been able to do that. So if he's able to win, just a regular scientist from France win against Monsanto, then that should tell you something, that maybe there's something there. And hopefully, more studies will come out. But the problem is the vast majority of people, one, don't even know the problems associated with GMO or the potential problems associated with GMO. But
why is that? I mean, we live in a technological age where all this information is readily available to us. If you Google GMO, you're going to get a plethora of information that comes out. Why is it most people do not understand the issues that come around GMOs and who's actually creating them and having these issues? And is it that people just it's out of sight, out of mind, or they don't care? What's going on?
Yeah, I think it's both of those. Out of sight, out of mind. I think most people, I don't even notice that they don't care. I don't even think it's that they don't realize that there's something that they need to care about. Obviously, if I'm standing on the sidewalk and a car is about to run off the road and kill me, I'm going to care about that. But if I don't see it coming, then it's not something I'm going to give a second thought to. So I think like you said, probably out of sight, out of mind is the better word. And there are people who are aware of this, but still want to come in defense and go, hey, you know what? We're feeding lots of people. They've been fed the line by Monsanto that this is why we're doing it. It's so we can create better crops, more sustainable crops, more enduring crops. We can feed more people and on, and that's the reason for it. And I think that, that probably is a big part of the reason for it. And I would like to think that there is at least some altruistic, benevolent behavior coming even out of Monsanto. But I think what it really boils down to in the end is, the thing that you and I always talk about, and that's the dollar bill, the bottom line.
Yeah.
That Monsanto is going to do everything they can to protect themselves, even if they know that what they're doing isn't 100% the best thing for the mass population. Matter of fact, there was I don't know what his position was. He was a lobbyist for Monsanto. So obviously he obviously knows the in and outs of Monsanto well. He goes to the government, he lobbies for them, and he was being interviewed it was a European channel, I believe, but it was in English, and he brought this up himself. There's actually a video of it. It's quite humorous, and they were talking about the stuff the efficacy or the safety. I'm sorry about the safety of it, not the efficacy. They were talking about that too, but they were talking about the safety of it and the questions involved with that. And he goes, stuff is perfectly safe. He goes, you could drink a whole quart of it and it won't hurt you. And the guy goes, oh, we've got some in the back. Would you like a glass? And he goes, sure, I'd be happy to drink it. He goes, no, not really. The guy goes, what? No, not really? You won't drink it? He goes, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to drink. He goes, but you just said you could drink a whole quart of it and it won't cause you any problem. We'd like to give you a glass right now. You can prove it to us. And he said, I'm not stupid. This is not going to happen. He goes, I'm here to talk about whatever it was that they were there to talk about. And the guy says, well, that's what we were talking about, but you said it was safe to drink. And the guy goes, you know what, this conversation's over. You're just a jerk. And he got up and left, and he wouldn't answer any more questions.
Good, because we have to take a break, and when we come back, you can tell us where it went from there. And then you can explain to me, maybe, how this lonely little Frenchman scientist was able to fight this mammoth or behemoth company, Monsanto. How was he financially able to do that? We'll figure that out when we come back with our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. Don't go away, folks. We got a lot more of Sean and a lot more information that you might be able to live without it, but you'll be sorry.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful in visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39. A complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:23 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 91 degrees. That's down from 98 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 65. But if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Lisbon, Portugal, well, it's 79 degrees and clear. And if you're in Hong Kong, well, it's 75 degrees and clear. And if you happen to be in Wichita, say hi to my good buddy Sean Lefebvre. Hey, Sean, you got the microphone.
All right. I just gotta watch you. You're an accountant, but you just said it's down from 88 to 91, and I just want to...
No, down...
I did hear that. Don't think I didn't pick up 90, on that. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I did say that. But then I went back up to 98.
All right, that's fair. So you were asking, how does a regular, just normal Joe scientist fight back to somebody as big as Monsanto?
Yeah.
And I think there's two reasons why he was able to do this successfully. One, and I think this is important, is he's in Europe, he's in France, and Monsanto does not have the political clout in the rest of the world that they do here in the United States. I mean, Hillary Clinton has proven that that they purchase. I mean, so has President Obama, in my opinion, they buy the politicians here. There's no reason why things. I mean, not only the Monsanto Protection Act, but just recently they signed through the what's called the DARK Act, and that's, I don't know, it's HR 1533 or something like that. I can't remember the number two, but or 1599, I think it is. Anyway, but that one basically states that not only is it not required to put GMOs, but it's actually against the law to label foods as non-GMO. So like companies that would say, hey, they'd be happy just going, like, obviously there's a lot of us out there who would love for food companies to be required to label food as GMO.
Okay, so help me out. Is non-GMO the same thing as organic, or are there two different things?
No, you can grow something that you can take a regular crop that is not GMO, and you can still grow it with pesticide. Mm-hmm. So there's still going to be, pesticides. Still going to be, and even organic. It's one of those things that you can grow things in an organic fashion without any pesticides. Like I can go to the farmer's market and I can buy stuff all day that's non-GMO. I've never seen pesticides the whole bit, but it's not legally called organic because you have to go through a certification to call your food organic. And it's very expensive, and so the only ones that can really afford it are big-time operations. Most of your smaller operations can't afford the certification process. Mm. So you can get foods that are non-GMO but are not organic either. They're still sprayed with some sort of pesticide or herbicide or whatever the case might be, and maybe they use synthetic fertilizers instead of natural fertilizers and so on. But so there's a lot of us out there who would love to see foods labeled as GMO. If I've got GMO corn or GMO soy or GMO, like even papayas, I was having a conversation with someone that a friend of mine who is from Hawaii and used to have a coffee bean farm out there, and their papaya industry is huge out there. And she said that they came in and they changed all the papayas to GMO. The GMO papaya industry took over in Hawaii, and she said it basically destroyed the industry because Japan was a huge consumer of their papayas, and Japan went, no, we don't want your GMO papaya, and they have to go get their papaya from somewhere else now. So Hawaii lost out. I'm sure they're selling it to the mainland here in the United States, but there's other parts of the world where papaya is a much more highly consumed fruit than it is here. I don't know too many people that eat papaya on a regular basis in the United States. So, it affects everybody, but we'd like to know, if I'm eating something, I want to know if it's GMO or not. I think that's only fair,
Yeah.
But, cause, I can tell you, they have to label, if I see an apple, I have to know whether, I don't have to know, but they're going to put on there if it's a Granny Smith or it's a Red Delicious or, whatever kind of apple it is.
Right.
Why not, if this thing's been genetically modified as well? But what this act did, the DARK Act as they call it, is it basically states that it is not only are they not required to label it as GMO, it is against the law to label any type of GMO or non-GMO. So you can't even say, hey, my stuff is non-GMO, because what that does is what, of course, the logic, if you want to say this is political money in my pocket logic, of course, is that if I say mine's non-GMO, well, then that must mean that the one next to it is a GMO product, and so people aren't going to buy my product because it doesn't say non-GMO on it. And it's like, well, if yours is non-GMO, put it on there,
Yeah, I mean, if you can't say it is and you can't say it isn't, how the heck do you find out?
Right, and you can't. And that's the problem with it, is they're not allowed to label it. So I don't know if there's a way that you can go online, and I think this doesn't take effect for another couple of years or something, but still the point is it's going to take effect, to where I look at a box of food and I go, are these like, I still eat corn chips from time to time, but I like to look for the corn chips that say non-GMO on them, because if I'm going to eat corn, I want it to be the corn that my grandfather and my great grandfathers ate. I don't want it to be.
You want the one with the guys that had feathers in their hats.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. and so I look for the non-GMO, but, in a couple of years, that may not be an option for me. I may have to go online and go, okay, does, the Garden of Eden, there's one that says Garden of Eaton, as an E-A-T-I-N with an apostrophe, Garden of Eaton, chips, it's kind of a cute name, but, I know theirs is non-GMO. Well, is it going to still be non-GMO? I don't know. Maybe I'll be able to go online and they'll be able to tell me, which ones are and aren't, and then that way I can arm myself with knowledge before I go to the grocery store. But what that does is it, of course, makes it more time-consuming, more difficult, and that goes back to what we were talking about before. Most people don't even want to flip the bottle or the box around and read the label on the backside. I'm a huge label reader. Yeah. And every now and then, I'll go buy something that I've been eating for years, and I'll go, I never really read the label on it, and I'll flip it over and I'll read the label, and I'll just be so discouraged. So I go, oh my gosh, I love this stuff. Like one of them was it was a sauce, and I can't remember who made it anymore. It was an enchilada sauce that I grew up with. It was like this green enchilada sauce.
Cantina.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Santina. That's exactly what it was. And it had an ingredient in there that I went, I can't remember if it was MSG. I think it was MSG. And I went, oh man, I can't believe they have this. And I was just I was so bummed because I love this stuff, and it was so good. Anyway, so I'm a huge label reader, and so who knows, maybe someday I won't even be able to know off the label, that I'll have to go, find the information somewhere else. So I can't remember where we were that I went off on this tangent. But
you're talking about you had a favorite item that you every once in a while looked at the ingredients, and on this particular favorite item, which happened.
Yeah, but I'm trying to back up like 10 steps to what got me off on this tangent about the politicians. I remember I said something about the politicians have proven that that's what it is. So we're talking about this guy. Why was he able to successfully win this court case against someone as big as Monsanto? Yeah. And the point I was making was, here in the United States, the politicians are bought and sold by these big corporations, and Monsanto's a huge one in that area of buying out politicians. But in Europe, that's not the case. The influence is not near as heavy there. And so this guy, he had that on his side. But what he did, which was not as common, most people who lose to Monsanto attacks them first. The Monsanto comes out and takes them to court. And so now all of a sudden, you're on the defensive. And it's a lot more difficult to go on the defensive than it is to go on the offensive. If you want to have a clear, decisive victory, the best thing you can do is go on the offensive quick and not let them know what's coming. As they say, the one who has the first blow has got the advantage. Yeah. And so he went on the offensive. What he did was they formed an organization. It was an organization that was there in the defense of those who are trying to prevent things like, modified organisms, genetically modified organisms, and so on. And so he developed this organization, and then the organization went after a specific person who was he had written an article in a magazine. I don't know if he was with the magazine, but he was definitely part of Monsanto. He was one of the an engineer for Monsanto, and he was the one that had written in this article that the scientist had intentionally designed his study to bring about the results that he was looking for, that he had in fact committed fraud and so on, and that was what he had done. Well, so he went on the offensive. Instead of becoming defensive, he went on the offensive. He attacked that guy and sued him for defamation of character, and eventually won the court case. And so I think that, there's twofold. One, being in Europe is an advantage because, again, Monsanto doesn't have the clout there. And two, he went on the offensive. And I think that to beat someone like Monsanto, you've got to be on the offensive. It's kind of that David and Goliath thing. David didn't wait for Goliath to start swinging his sword. He went out and took a slingshot and started flinging rocks at him right away, and he won. And I think that that's the way the little man is going to have to win against Monsanto, is they're going to have to start attacking Monsanto. And that's unfortunate, that that's the way it is, but it's going to have to start also in other countries where Monsanto doesn't have the clout. And so what I think you're going to start seeing is more of these studies are going to come out. They're going to come out in places where Monsanto doesn't have a foothold, and Monsanto can't really manipulate. They believe that Monsanto was directly involved with getting his article retracted from the journal that was originally published, and it's been published since in another journal. But they believe Monsanto, because of its connection with the editors there, was able to get his article retracted. So listen,
if I tell you that we've got 3 minutes left, can you do a wrap in 3 minutes?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty much done anyway. So I mean, the point is, it's going to be a long struggle, and who knows what's going to happen long run. I'd like to see, at least truth in advertising, some more, open labeling laws, those kind of things. But I'd really like to see I would be happy with a ban. I don't even care if there's a ban, as long as we can see evidence that this stuff's not going to cause harm. But there is no study, there is no evidence at all that GMOs are safe for human consumption. That's the thing that's never been proven. They just go off of the assumption because I grow something and it looks pretty much the same way as it looks just like a tomato, it looks just like corn, it looks just like a papaya, it looks just like whatever. That's, it tastes like it, so it must still be good for you. And I think that that's the assumption that's being made. But the reality of it is we don't know, and that's why. Well, we've got
a minute and a half. Explain to me, because you had said you love corn on the cob. I also love corn on the cob. Why is it not good for you?
Well, it's not that it's not good for you. There's two things with corn. One that I talked about before, I can't digest it very well. So for me, it's just really hard on my digestive system.
Well, because I could eat an iron nail and I would be able to digest it.
Okay, cool. And I'm like that with everything else. I have a cast iron gut, but for corn, I'm sure I probably draw a lot of nutrients from corn, but it doesn't all get fully digested. But here's the thing with the problem with corn, and eating corn on the cob isn't such a big deal. It's got all the fiber and everything else. It's really, corn becomes a problem when you put it in things like, it's cornmeal and corn starch, and you get these corn chips and on and on. Mm-hmm. Corn is really high in omega-6s, which is it's a fatty acid that our body needs. Of course, most people are familiar with, omega-3s, like they take their fish oils and stuff and they get omega-3s. So omega-6s are also important, but you need to have the right ratio. And when you get too much omega-6s, the problem with omega-6 fatty acid is that it's pro-inflammatory. It actually creates inflammation or causes inflammation, where omega-3s are anti-inflammatory. They push inflammation down. And so the reason why you've seen this huge growth in the omega-3 industry over the last, 10 to 15 years is because we've used corn so much in our diet that we've created a diet that is pro-inflammatory, and so now we need to eat more omega-3s to drive down that inflammation process. Okay, now that makes sense. Now, we are out of time, but I want you to tell me what we're going to be talking about next Tuesday. That's like, I have no idea.
God only knows, right? And he's not telling anybody until next Tuesday.
That's right. It's a big secret.
All right. Hey, listen, as usual, fantastic show. I think it's got a lot to do with your personality, and I love to say these segments with you. Just make sure you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Stay cool, for Pete's sake. If you're gonna cook outside and bring it inside, and enjoy yourself.
Same to you, Robert. It was a fun time, and I look forward to talking with you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend.
I look forward to it, too. Thanks, buddy. You take care. And the rest of you folks, stick around, because when we come back from this commercial break, we're going to be doing the birthdays of the day, the secret daily teaching for your life, the Harvard business tip of the day, and interesting but useless facts. We'll be right back after these brief messages. Don't go away. We still got some great show for you.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Leinberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:41 p.m. Pacific time. It is 91 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Auckland, New Zealand, well, it's 59 degrees and it's partly cloudy. And if you happen to be in Vienna, Austria, it's 48 degrees and it's clear. But right now, let's talk about the Harvard business tip of the day. And the management tip today is switch careers without giving up your seniority. Sounds good to me, doesn't it? Well, you know what? Many experienced professionals would like to change careers, but the thought of starting over at the bottom is simply just too demoralizing. So they stay and sometimes unhappily in place. But there are ways that you can shift jobs or even careers without giving up your hard-earned seniority. Here are 3 ways to capitalize on your past experience. And first of them is leverage the halo effect. Recognize that if you've been successful in one field, others are likely to view you as being excellent all around and therefore a great candidate in another field. And make use of your advantages. Take stock of advantages you've built up over the years, such as connections that could help you get a foot in the door with a growing reference or a glowing reference. And then finally, find opportunities where inexperience is a virtue. Well, you know what? Some companies, like those in need of a major turnaround, often are unusually receptive to hiring an unconventional candidate as a leader. Keep that in mind. There's a lot of good things that happen when you're doing these things. Well, you know what? Let's talk about the secret daily teaching for your life. That's all about a positive mental attitude. You decide whether you're going to be happy or sad or a failure or success, rich or poor, or the people around you. You decide if they're going to be happy or sad. And you do that every single morning when you get out of bed, you go into the bathroom, you look in the mirror, and you say, wow, I'm going to have a fantastic day today. It's going to be absolutely magnificent, productive, and profitable. And that's what a positive mental attitude will do for you. You control everything. Now, the teaching for today is, so what are you really feeling right now? Take a few moments to think about how you feel. If you're not feeling as good as you'd like to, focus on feeling your feelings inside and purposefully lift them. Now, as you focus intensely on your feelings with the intention to lift yourself, you can powerfully elevate them. One way is to close your eyes, shutting out distractions, focus on your feelings inside, and smile for one whole minute. I'm telling you, folks, this works. It's all about a positive mental attitude. You control what's going to happen in your life and generally even in the lives of the people around you. Well, you know what today is. Sure you do. It's Tuesday. It's August the 11th, and it is somebody's birthday. Well, we've got 3 birthdays for today, and you know what? I don't know. I enjoy these segments of the birthdays. Here's the one for today. Here's a guy that was born in 1933, passed away in 2007, an evangelical Christian pastor, televangelist, and a conservative commentator. Happy birthday to the late Jerry Falwell. And here's a fellow born in 1957, a drummer best known as the drummer for the punk rock group the Ramones. Happy birthday, Richie Ramone. And then finally, born in 1980, former football running back in the NFL. He holds the records for most games scoring a touchdown in a single season. Happy birthday, Lee Scuggs. Yeah. And so you wonder what's going on in history on this day? Well, I can tell you, on August the 11th, 1934, the very first civilian prisoners arrive at the federal prison on Alcatraz Island, 1934. You know what? And in 1968, the last steam passengers train service runs from Britain. Now, a selection of British rail system locomotives make the 120-mile journey from Liverpool to Carlisle and return to Liverpool before having their fires dropped for the last time. And then finally, in 1972, August 11th, 1972, the Vietnam War, the last United States ground combat unit departs South Vietnam. Well, the quote for today comes from W.C. Fields. We get a lot of quotes from him, and most of them, they put a smile on your face anyway. Today's quote is, start every day off with a smile and get it over with. Now that's profound. I think that's fantastic. Something else you're going to smile about are interesting but useless facts. So we've got a few of them here. Let's give some to you. Did you know that U.S. scientists calculated that Santa would have to visit 822 homes a second to deliver all the world's presents on Christmas Eve, traveling at 650 miles per second? Wow. Can you imagine? No wonder he's so tired by the time Christmas Day is over. Did you know that catfish have 100,000 taste buds? And yet you have to use a special recipe to make a catfish taste good. How about this one? The fastest bird is the spine-tailed swift, clocked at speeds of up to 220 miles per hour. Can you imagine that? Now, that's a fast bird. And how about this one? Did you know that the glue on Israeli postage is certified? Get this? You waiting for it? Kosher. Yeah, you got it. And how about it? Did you know that ants can lift 50 times their own weight? 50 times. So think about that. If you weighed 50 pounds and you could do the same thing, you'd be able to lift 5,000 pounds. Give that some thought. Yeah, absolutely. That's a big deal. Try this one on. Did you know that the average iceberg weighs 20 million tons? Yeah, that's 40 million pounds. Give that some thought. That's a biggie, guys. No wonder the Titanic didn't survive that. Did you know that your mouth produces 1 liter of saliva a day? That's like a quart, folks, in case you're wondering what a liter is. Just a little bit different, but just about a quart. And, spiders don't have antennae, while insects do. I don't know that I care about that. Try this on for size. A typical full-time worker in the United States with a 4-year college degree earns about $50,000. Now, this is 62% more than a worker with only a high school diploma. Now, give that some serious thought. Let me leave you with this one. A real estate agent's rule of thumb: to estimate what a house will sell for, ask the owner what it's worth, and then subtract 10%. And I can tell you, it's an absolute fact. That is exactly how realtors figure it out. They do market analysis, but that's how they figure it out. Now listen, we have to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to do our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Today's story is escape. And I'm going to tell you all about that right after these brief messages. Do not go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses: website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Dental Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39. A complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:53 p.m. Pacific time. Currently 91 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. That's down from 98 degrees, and it's on its way to 63 degrees. If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you happen to be in Sydney, Australia, well, it's 52 degrees and it's cleared. If you're in Tokyo, Japan, 79 degrees and mostly cloudy. And finally, if you're in Madrid, Spain, it's 72 degrees and clear. But right now, it's time for us to do our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey. Yes, sir. You know what? Paul Harvey is the biggest and best voice in America, reveals the startling heartbeats behind the headlines. Paul Harvey is one of America's favorite radio and TV commentators, heard over 775 ABC radio stations and over 400 foreign stations, seen on 110 television stations, and read in 300 newspapers, recipient of numerous awards and honors, including 9 honorary degrees. He's on Gallup Poll's list of America's most admired men. Well, our tribute to Paul today is his story about escape. You know, of all the positions in the field of journalism, that of war correspondent is perhaps most dangerous. Some are captured, some escape, some die. 25-year-old Leonard Spencer was the London Morning Post's newest correspondent. His assignment was the Boer War in South Africa. Had young Leonard foreseen the peril awaiting him, he would have probably taken the assignment anyway. That's how Leonard was. About 20 miles from Ladysmith, Leonard could hear the booming guns. He was aboard a British armored train that would take him as close to the front as he could get. The train got too close. There was a sudden crash. The train had struck a boulder on the tracks. A Boer booby trap. It was an ambush. Immediately, a fuselage of rifle fire followed. Surprised British troops on the train fired back. And Leonard? Well, Leonard ignored the gunshots and exploding shells. He jumped off the train, directed the British defense, helped to clear the wreckage. In fact, without the aid of this useful correspondent from the Morning Post, the train might have been lost and the British troops massacred. Instead, the wreckage was cleared. The train did pull out of the trap and carried a good many British soldiers with it. The one left behind to face the enemy was Leonard. No, the story doesn't end sadly here. Leonard was captured unharmed. Even though Leonard was technically a war correspondent, the Boer commander was sufficiently impressed with his bravery to have Leonard thrown into a prison at Pretoria. Now, the Pretoria prison was among the world's most carefully guarded strongholds. Still, that did not stop Leonard from plotting an escape with 2 other British captives. As darkness fell, the trio waited for the opportunity. It was now pitch black. The sentries exchanged their posts. Leonard sprang across an open area, hurdled a fence of barbed wire mesh. When he looked back, there was no one. His comrades had missed their chance. 300 miles of hostile territory lay between Leonard and his freedom. For a while, he followed the railroad tracks to the east, stumbling alone through the dark, dodging enemy patrols, tired, hungry, thirsty. Leonard plodded long into the night, knowing that each painful foot of the way, one false step could be his last. The night turned to day, and back to night again, until the days and nights blurred. Finally, Leonard reached a mining town. His luck wearing thin but holding, he knocked on the door of the only Britisher in the territory and was smuggled onto a train loaded with bales of wool. The train would carry him to the British consul to safety. And that's how Leonard Spencer, the London Morning Post fledgling correspondent, got his story and his reputation for daring. History has all but forgotten this incident in his life in order to make room for later glory. The fortune that once seemed to be wearing thin had only begun, and one day rubbed off on all of England. For the young correspondents who once upon a time saved a British armored train and escaped the enemy under impossible circumstances, continue to do the impossible for the rest of his life. We know him as Sir Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill. And now you know the rest of the story. Well, folks, don't forget to come back tomorrow and hear another tribute to late Paul Harvey. And tomorrow's story is going to be the last case of Henri Latour. I'll tell you all about that tomorrow. But right now, on my next show, I want you to know that we're going to be with John Matthews, Joe Hakos, and I. We'll be talking conservative politics on our bi-weekly simulcast. And David Garrett will be here. He'll be talking about the law and current events on Garrett on the Law. I continue our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. And I ask you to please tell all your friends about our show here on the RLC Broadcasting Network.
That's our show for today. Beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. Your life will never be the same again. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. You know, the real secret of happiness is to make others believe that they're the cause of it. Robert Cardoza Live is brought to you by blogtalkradio.com every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, go out and make it a great day. Your host has been Robert Cardoza, the technical advisor, Matchstick Digital, and your executive producer, also Robert Cardoza.